Kathleen Ní Houlihan woke. It was the end of Easter week 1916. The guns had finally fallen silent on the violent events of April, and Katie found herself suffering from a hangover, historic in its severity. The mythical figure of Kathleen Ní Houlihan personified Irish nationhood. She had appeared on stage in a play written by W.B. Yeats, with some help from his literary patron, Lady Gregory. Kathleen was an emblematic then of the Irish literary revival then taking shape, the movement in a revival of interest in the country's ancient Gaelic heritage. In the hands of Lady Gregory and Yeats, Kathleen was a nationalistic figure, seeking a sacrifice of blood and life necessary to transform her from a poor old woman into a youthful figure with the walk of a queen. As we shall see, the events of Easter 1916 would make of Kathleen not merely a symbol of Ireland, but one of a fiery action in the cause of national liberation. With a heavy outward cloak that with the Made in Britain label that governed her movements in the fields of law and order. This was about matter. Its weight and chaffing may have eased a little by 1916, but they had by no means disappeared completely. Kathleen, of course, had railed against the wearing of the cloak on numerous occasions, during the preceding century and before, with disastrous results. Still, she had not expected that this Eastertide would witness another protest against British power and authority in her land. Now, as she surveyed the shocking aftermath of Easter 1916 in Dublin, Kathleen Ní Houlihan was aware that elements in her world were changing before her eyes, were altering violently and breathlessly. There had indeed been a sacrifice of blood, but could Kathleen walk confidently with the walk of youth, with the walk of a queen? A new terrible world of beauty was in the process of being born.
It is a hard service they take that help me. Many that are red-cheeked now will be pale-cheeked. Many that have been free to walk the fields and the bogs and the rushes will be made to walk hard streets on far countries. Many a plan will be broken. Many that have gathered money in the town will not stay to spend it. Many a child will be born, and there will be no father at its christening to give it a name. Those who had been red-cheeked will be pale-cheeked for my sake, and for that they will think they are well paid. They will be remembered forever. They shall be speaking forever. The people shall hear them forever.
O'Casey was born in Dublin as John Casey to Michael and Susan Archer Casey in a house at 85 Upper Dorset Street. As his interest in the Irish nationalist cause grew, O'Casey joined the Gaelic League in 1906 and learned the Irish language. At this time, he Gaelicized his name from John Casey to Sean O'Cahasick. In March 1914, he became General Secretary of Larkin's Irish Citizen Army, which would soon be run by James Connolly. On the 24th of July 1914, he resigned from the ICA after his proposal to deny dual membership to both the ICA and the Irish Volunteers was rejected. In O'Casey's first play, The Plough and the Stars, Nora is the central character. Everything that happens turns directly or indirectly on her. She is the person with the most insight to what life should be like and where the dangers lie. She is all for life and is primarily the victim of forces outside her control. Nora realizes that she is losing hold of Jack, and then becomes preoccupied with keeping him for herself. She descends to playing the role of a sex object. Mrs. Gogan's remark:
She dresses herself to keep him with her, but it's no use. The wonder a woman wears off in a month.
Nora's madness is manifested even more clearly in the final act. Robbed of Jack, she becomes unable to function and is capable only of calling for Jack to come and help her. The decline of Nora in the play is a personalised reflection of the decline of the world at large, the unnecessary death and suffering caused to the working class by a capitalist-inspired uprising.
No, Jack, not there. I can feel comfortable, only in our familiar place beneath the bramble tree. Have we much further to go, or have we passed it by? I'm feeling very tired. Jack, it's not. Can't you see it's a goldfinch? Look at the black satiny wings and the gold bars and splash of red on its head. Something ails me. Something ails me. Don't kiss me like that, Jack. You take my breath away. Why do you frown at me? You're going away and I can't follow you! Jack! Jack! Cold? I get very cold. It's chilly out here in the country. What place is this? Where am I? There's something I want to remember and I can't! I can't! My head! Oh, my head! Luther. Oh, Luther. Where have you hidden it? Where is my baby? My baby! Where's my baby? I want my baby! Where's Jack? Where's my husband? No, I won't go! It's a new husband! Murderers! That's what you are! Murderers! I can't breathe. I feel like my life is forcing its way out of my body. I'm frightened, Luther! I'm frightened! Moira. Moira, Jack! If the baby's a girl, look, we can call it Moira. Anything you want if it's a boy. He's there. He's there and they won't give it back to me, Jack!
Come on, Nora. Go to sleep.
Hold my hand. Sing to me. The violets were scenting the woods, Nora displaying their charms to the bees. When I first said I loved only you, Nora, and you said you loved only me, the chestnut blooms gleam through the glade, Nora, a robin sang loud from the tree. When I first said I loved only you, Nora, and you said you loved only me, the golden robed daffodil shone, Nora, with the breeze of the lea. When I first said I loved only you, Nora, and you said you loved only me, the birds in the trees sang their songs, Nora, of happier transports to be. When I first said I loved only you, Nora, and you said you loved only me, our dreams, they have never come true, Nora, our hopes, they were never to be. Since I first said I loved only you, Nora, and you said you loved only me.
nationalist and political activist who was one of the leaders of the Easter Rising in 1916. Following his execution, along with 15 other leaders, Pearse came to be seen by many as the embodiment of the rebellion. Pearse was born at 27 Great Brunswick Street, Dublin, the street that is named after them today. The Irish-speaking influence of Pearse's great-aunt Margaret, together with the schooling at the CBS Westonroe, instilled in him an early love for the Irish language, and he soon became involved in the Gaelic revival. In December 1913, Bulmer Hobson swore Pearse into the secret IRB, an organisation dedicated to the overthrow of British rule in Ireland and its replacement with an Irish Republic. By 1915, on the IRB's Supreme Council and its secret military council, the core group that began planning for a rising while war raged on the European Western Front. On the 1st of August 1915, Pearse gave a graveside oration at the funeral of Finian Jeremiah O'Donovan Rossa. It closed with the words, "The fools, the fools, the fools. They have left us, our Finian, dead. And while Ireland holds these graves, Ireland unfree shall never be at peace." This speech pushed the school teacher into the national spotlight, and he was chosen by the leading IRB man, Tom Clark, to be the spokesman for the rising.
I see his blood upon the rose, in the stars the glory of his eyes. His body gleams amid eternal snows, his tears fall from the skies. I see his face in every flower, the thunder and the singing of the birds are but his voice, and carven by his power, rocks are his written words. All pathways by his feet are worn,
world hath made me sad, this beauty that will pass. Sometimes my heart hath shaken with great joy to see a leaping squirrel in a tree, or a red ladybird upon a stalk, or little rabbits in a field at evening, lit by a slanting sun. Or some green hill where shadows drifted by, some quiet hill where mountainy man had sown, and soon would reap near to the gates of heaven. Or children with bare feet upon the sands of some ebbed sea, or playing in the streets of little towns in Connacht, things young and happy. And my heart hath told me, these will pass and change, will die and be no more. Things bright and green, things young and happy, and I have gone upon my way, sorrowful.
James Connolly, who was born in Scotland of Irish parents, stood aloof from the leadership of the Irish Volunteers. He considered them too bourgeois and unconcerned with Ireland's economic independence. In 1916, thinking they were merely posturing and unwilling to take decisive action against Britain, he attempted to goad them into action by threatening to send the ICA against the British Empire alone if necessary. This alarmed the members of the Irish Republican Brotherhood, who had already infiltrated volunteers and had plans for an insurrection that very year. In order to talk Connolly out of any such rash action, the IRB leaders, including Tom Clark and Patrick Pearse, detained Connolly and brought him up, somewhat forcibly, to a meeting with the IRB leadership to see if an agreement could be reached. During the meeting, the IRB and the ICA agreed to act together at Easter of that year. In the play Easter 1916, written by G.P. Galvin, he attempts to humanize the leaders of the Rising, exploring how the idealist Republican thinking affected people at the time.
Mr. Connolly, you've been brought here today because you are a danger to us. Now, the sooner you understand your position, the better. On several occasions, you've been asked to tone down the severity of your newsletters, and yet you persist in being foolhardy. You've caused us a considerable amount of damage for quite some time, Mr. Connolly, and we have quite a few things to tell you.
Indeed. Well, first, let me tell you something. I've never had any time for lectures, but if I ever change my mind, I'll pick my own subject and venue.
Don't fool yourself, Connolly. You've been brought here for an ultimatum. Either water down the articles or face the consequences.
Well, there's this much to be said for you. You at least come to the point. But why? Why in heaven's name must you always be so melodramatic? Consequences. I fear I've been reading too many adventure stories.
Now I'm warning you, don't drive us too far.
All right, calm down. But tell me, what exactly do you mean by consequences?
We'll go just as far as necessary as to prevent you doing further damage.
But if I don't, what then?
We will only kill you if it proves absolutely necessary, Mr. Connolly.
My God, you would kill me. It would take someone like yourself, an idealist, to act in such a cold-blooded way. Do you think for 1 second that McNeil would sanction my death?
Possibly not. If the news had reached him.
So that's it. And now I suppose you think you're in a position to dictate me.
Well, isn't it about time someone else called the tune for a change? And besides, your army is smaller than ours. Why should we take orders from you?
I'll tell you why. Because the only kind of action you'll ever see is the kind you're forced into. If I wait around for you, there'll never be a revolution.
Unless you wait for us, you'll never see one. That's a certainty.
I hate to disappoint you, but the socialist revolution in Ireland is something I've looked forward to for too long to be let down now.
You're a cool one, Connolly. I'll give you that. But there's no need thinking that bluffing is going to get you anywhere.
Now just listen to me for 1 minute. No one knows better than I that the citizen army isn't strong enough on its own to be fully effective. That's why I want your help. But I'm not prepared to wait indefinitely.
I wouldn't have thought you were in a place to put down terms.
Wouldn't you? Just shows how wrong you all can be. Well, let me enlighten you. There's one important factor that you've obviously overlooked. The powers that be in the citizen army are no less impatient than myself for a rising. What effect do you think my absence is going to have on them? Put yourself in their position. They'll assume the British have taken me, and you can't afford to tell them otherwise. Take my word for it. If I'm not back within 3 days, they'll take the British on their own.
That would be suicide.
Furthermore, if you release them this minute, I'll disappear immediately, so as not to delusion them.
But the British would deny that they're holding you.
Do you think that would convince anyone? I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it seems as though you've taken off a bit more than you can chew.
Now, he can say whatever he wants, but I think he's bluffing. But if you let him get away with anything, there'll be nothing short of a tragedy.
The tragedy would be if you weren't bluffing, Eamon.
You seem pretty satisfied that you hold all the trump cards. But if I was you, I wouldn't be so cocksure of myself.
Wouldn't you? Well, don't let me give you any ideas. If you wouldn't mind, I'm about ready for bed. You know how it is. A day like this can be rather tiring.
Lord, take the prisoner back to his cell. We're quite done with you for tonight, Mr. Connolly, but we'll continue this in the morning.
Oh, anytime. And please don't let me stampede or anything. But let me warn you, time is running out. If my jailer is ready, sweet dreams, gentlemen.
Roger Casement was born in Sandycove, County Dublin, the son of Captain Roger Casement of the 3rd Dragon Guards of the British Army and Anne Jefferson from Mallow, County Cork. His mother had him secretly baptised in her own religion, Roman Catholic, but he was raised in the Protestant faith of his father. From 1895 onwards, he held consular appointments at various locations in Africa, including Boma in the Congo, where, for the British Foreign Office, he investigated Belgian human rights abuses of the native people. Later in Peru, he was commissioned to undertake a report on the reported abuse of workers in the rubber industry in the Potomac Basin, which earned him a knighthood after his findings were published as a parliamentary paper. Casement had been a member of the Gaelic League and became increasingly radicalised by the opposition of the Ulster Unionists to Home Rule from 1912 onwards. He raised funds for the Irish Volunteers in the United States and was arrested at Bannistrand in County Kerry on Good Friday 1916 while trying to land arms secured from Germany. Before being tried for high treason at the Old Bailey, British officials circulated diaries, supposedly written by Casement, which detailed homosexual activities, presumably to discredit him as an Irish martyr. He was unmarried.
Then came the war. As Mr. Birrell has said in his evidence recently laid before the Commission of Inquiry into the causes of late rebellion in Ireland, the war upset all our calculations. Will it upset mine no more than Mr. Birrell's, and thus put an end to my mission of peaceful effort in America. War between Great Britain and Germany meant, as I believed, ruin for all the hope we had founded on the enrolment of the Irish Volunteers. A constitutional movement in Ireland is never that very far from the breach of the Constitution, as the Loyalists in Ulster have been just so eager to show us. The cause is not far to seek. A constitution to be maintained intact must be the achievement and pride of the people themselves. It must rest on their own free will and on their own determination to sustain it, instead of being something resident in another land, whose chief representative is an armed force, armed not to protect the people but to hold it down. We've seen the workings of the Irish Constitution and the refusal of the army occupation at the Curragh to obey orders of the Crown. And now that we were told the first duty of an Irishman was to enter that army in return for a promissory note, payable after death, a scrap of paper that might or might not be collected, I felt over there in America that my first duty was to keep my Irishmen at home, in the only army that could safeguard our national existence. If small nationalities were to be the pawns in this game of embattled giants, I saw no reason why Ireland should shed her blood in any cause but her own. And if that be treason beyond the seas, I am not ashamed to avow for it, or to answer for it here with my life. And when we had the doctrine of unionist loyalty at last, Mausers and Kaisers, have any king you like. And I've heard that at Hamburg. It's not very far from Limburg on the land. I felt I needed no other warrant than that these words conveyed, to go forth and do likewise. The difference between us was that the unionist champions chose a path they felt would lead to the woolsack, while I went a road I knew must lead to the dock. And the event proves we were both right. The difference between us was that my treason was based on a ruthless sincerity that forced me to attempt in time and season to carry out in action what I had said in word, whereas their treason lay in verbal incitements that they knew need never be made good in their bodies. And so I'm prouder to stand here today in the traitor's dock, to answer this impeachment, than to fill the right of my honourable accusers.
Countess Markievicz was undoubtedly the female lead of the Easter Rising. A charismatic, revolutionary politician, suffragette and socialist, she had a remarkable life before and after 1916. While other nations were still fighting to secure voting rights for women, Markievicz had become one of the first women in the world to hold a cabinet position as Minister for Labour in the Irish Republic from 1919 to 1922. The Proclamation of Independence itself, read out on the steps of the GPO, was a radical endorsement of equal rights for women in Irish society. Quoting his text, Padraig Pearse said, "The Irish Republic is entitled to, and hereby claims the allegiance of every Irish man and Irish woman. The Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunity to all its citizens, and declares its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and of all its parts, cherishing all the children of the nation equally."
As we gather in the chapel here in Old Kilmainham Jail, think about these past few weeks. Oh, will they say we'd failed? From our school days they had told us we must yearn for liberty. But all I want in this dark place is to have you here with me. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love, place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, so we must say goodbye. Now I know it's hard for you, my love, to ever understand the love I bear for these brave men, my love for this brave had to leave my own sick bed. To him I had to go. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love, I place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, so we must say goodbye. Now as the dawn is breaking, my heart is breaking too. On this May morn, as I walk out, my thoughts will be with you. So I'll write some words upon the wall so everyone will know I love so much that I could see his blood upon the rose. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love, I place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, so we must say goodbye. No, there won't be time to share our love, so we must say goodbye.
Kathleen, Thomas Clark's widow.
With 4 other women prisoners, mostly from Cumann, I lay in the prison on the night of the 2nd of May 1916. I was wondering where my husband and my brother were. Were they alive or dead? When a police guard swung open the door and inquired for me. He handed me a piece of paper which read, "Your husband is a prisoner in our hands. He wishes to see you." I knew then that he was alive, but then I thought, for how long? I was then escorted to the other side of the prison, where the order was given to have me sent to the jail where my husband was. Upon arrival, the scene was one of desolation. A derelict old prison with only candles for light. I walked into the room, and my husband was laying on the floor. He jumped up when I came in, and he was shivering, as he had lost his overcoat, and the night was bitterly cold. "Why did you surrender?" I said. "Didn't you say there would be no surrender?" "Yes, Kathleen," he said, "and I meant it. But I was defeated on the vote. Perhaps it is better so. Anyhow, I am to receive a soldier's debt. I am to be shot at dawn. I suppose you know." No, I didn't know. But I guessed. I remember he was in an exalted frame of mind, full of enthusiasm for what he had achieved despite the tragedy that was to come. The work in which he had returned from the United States in 1906 had been accomplished. "In going out today," he said, "we go in the belief that we have struck the first successful blow for freedom. And Ireland will never lie down again until she has attained full freedom. It will not come at once, and I believe between this and freedom, Ireland will go through hell. But freedom is assured, and in this belief we die happy." He then named out the others that were to be shot, among them my younger brother, Ned. "No, surely not Ned," I said. "He's so young. He's too young." "Yes," Tom said, "he is. But he has made history during the week in his command. History in which the British cannot forgive."
Margaret Skinner, who was a sniper for the IRB during the Rising.
Dear Mary, At Liberty Hall, I saw the flag of the Republic waiting to be raised. I saw, too, the bombs and ammunition stored there, and was set to work with some other girls making cartridges. This was on the Thursday before Easter. That same evening I was given a dispatch to take to Belfast. The address of the man whom it was to be delivered to was at Mr. Connolly's home in the outskirts of the city. I was to go there first from Nora Connolly, then go on to this man. Starming, one position in St. Stephen's Green, I rode off down Leeson Street toward the Grand Canal to learn if the British soldiers were now leaving Beggar's Bush or the Portobello Barracks. Everything remained quiet. While I was cycling toward the post office, the crowd had resembled to watch the raising of the flag of the Irish Republic. As the tricolour, green, white, and orange, appeared above the roof of the post office, a salute was fired. A few days later, while it was still waving, James Connolly wrote for the first time in 700 years the flag of a free Ireland floats triumphantly over Dublin city. Mr. Connolly and a few of his officers came out to look at it as it waved up there against the sky. I saw an old woman go up to him and, bending her knee, kiss his hand, and indeed the people loved and trusted him. It took only a few moments to reach the building we were to set afire. Councillor Partridge smashed the door glass in the front of the shop that occupied the ground floor. He did it with the butt of his rifle, and a flash followed. It had been discharged. I rushed past him into the doorway of the shop, calling to the others to come on. Behind me came the sound of a volley, and I fell. It was as I had at a distance divined. That flash had revealed us to the enemy. "It's all over," I muttered, as I felt myself falling. But a moment later, when I knew I was not dead, I was sure I should pull through, before another volley could be fired. Mr. Partridge lifted me and carried me into the street. There on the sidewalk lay a dark figure in a pool of blood. It was Fred Ryan, a mere lad of 17, who'd wanted to come with us as one of the party of 4. We must take him along, I said, but it was no use. He was dead.
Countess Markovic.
I take it as a great compliment that so many of you, young Irish women, are giving me this opportunity. We look to you with great hope and a great confidence that your emancipation will bring fresh ideas, fresh energies, and above all else, a great genius of sacrifice of life for our nation. Now I won't go into psychological questions of why so few women are made prominent in our nation's struggle. Yes, few women distinguish themselves as being on the field in 1798. And yes, we do have the Ladies' Land League. But a majority of our women are still more than content at staying at home and leaving the fighting up to the men. We're in a very difficult situation here, as so many unionist women would fain have us work to increase their votes. I would ask any Republican woman to pause before she joins a suffrage society or a franchise league that did not include the freedom of their nation. Now I call upon all Irish women, fix your minds upon the ideal of Ireland, free, with her women with full rights of citizenship. An Ireland free from all sex disabilities in her constitution should be the motto of all Irish women, and a grand motto it is. To sum up, what I want is for all young Irish women to remember me. Regard yourself as Irish, believe in yourself as Irish, as part of a nation distinct from England. Arm your minds with mobile and free ideas, and arm yourselves with weapons and fight for our nation.